This is 5 on 20 News, where the news is gnarly, but the newscasters are fearless, with Ania Quintella
and Chris Amon, coming to you live from our studio in downtown Tucson.
First, the local headlines.
Enrollment at Pima Community College has fallen so low that the school may have to increase tuition. The PCC administration told employees that the school might have to make deep budget cuts to offset the tuition hikes. Employees were told the budget cuts could include layoffs, campus closings, program eliminations, reduced hours, and fewer benefits. Enrollment at Pima has dropped to a 25-year low. The school could reportedly fit their entire student body into 4 buildings, and yet they have 6 campuses. 3 budget scenarios were presented, each equally painful. The first would have made cuts until 2020, when the school would cut $15 million from the budget and increase tuition $7 per unit. The second would reduce spending by $5 million per year for the next 3 years and would require staff cuts. The third would reduce spending by $10 million for the next 3 years and make deep cuts in staffing and infrastructure. However, the third option would modernize the school and eliminate one of the campuses. The employees voted neither, then left to drink heavily and forget the past hour of their lives.
Pour one out for Pima. The city of Tucson is taking the state to court over their right to destroy guns. Last week, Arizona's Attorney General ordered the city to stop the program, or the city would forfeit $115 million in state funds. In 2011, Tucson began destroying guns if requested by residents. The program was not compulsory and wasn't an official program. After news of the program escaped to Phoenix, the legislature passed a law that forbid the practice. This year, Oro Valley Representative Mark Finchem submitted a law that would withhold state funds for cities who destroyed guns rather than selling them. Finchem said that there are lots of loving families in Arizona who would kill for the chance to adopt a young gun. The Tucson City Council is basing their defense on the grounds that they are able to adopt laws and self-govern. Arizona's constitution does allow cities larger than 3,500 to institute charters and self-govern as long as they don't violate state law. That's the problem. It's currently illegal statewide to destroy guns. But Councilman Steve Kozaczek also says that the state can't tell the city how to dispose of its property, another statement that should be true but isn't. In response, Representative Finchem passed a bill to develop a new landfill in Kozaczek's yard. To make matters worse, Attorney General Mark Brnovich claims that, quote, increasing the supply of firearms is in the interest of public safety. Brnovich's office has also claimed that an increase in sugar will help defeat diabetes and that more cars on the road will lead to less traffic.
Banner University Medical Center is challenging a report that claims that they are among the 31 lowest scoring teaching hospitals in terms of intensive care unit infections. Consumer Reports issued their findings in January and said that the information comes from the most recent government data. The infections come from so-called central lines, or IV tubes that deliver medication, nutrients, and fluids. The magazine said that the hospital is in the middle range, meaning that it's up to 50% better than the historic average, but still low when compared to other U.S. hospitals. Banner is claiming that the information is out of date because it stops at 2015, 2 months before Banner bought this particular hospital. Banner claims that they had a 75% reduction in infections from January to September of 2016. Central line infections account for 5% of all hospital infections, with about a quarter of patients dying. These infections are also expensive, costing around $45,000 per patient. Consumer Reports say that these infections are preventable, and many hospitals have gotten their numbers down to 0.
Scary. Governor Doug Ducey has released his recommendations for overhauling Arizona school funding. The recommendations haven't officially been released yet, but the Associated Press received a copy. The recommendations include simplifying the state's funding formula and using lump sums instead of variable funding. Funding is now largely based on property tax amounts, which leads to wealthier districts having more funding for schools. The panel also recommended an across-the-board raise for Arizona teachers who are some of the lowest paid in the U.S. 18 months ago, Ducey appointed the Classrooms First initiative to come up with ways to overhaul the complex funding measures.
A space technology startup is planning to bring a factory to Tucson. The folks behind Elon Musk's SpaceX started Vector Space Systems. They plan to build a factory on Tucson's south side. They have proposed a 25-year lease to the Pima County supervisors, where they'll pay $96,000 per year in rent. Under the deal, Vector agrees to hire 200 full-time workers within 4 years of the lease date. The jobs would pay about $75,000 per year with benefits. Vector says that they will bring $300 million to the local economy over the next 5 years. The company manufactures rockets that take satellites to space. If nothing else, we'll have a convenient route to space as the environment gets trashed over the next 4 years of a Trump presidency filled with climate change deniers with high-level government jobs.
Residents of Northwest Tucson are complaining about an unidentified foul smell in the area. Officials haven't discovered the source of the smell, but one resident described it as similar to an old cigar that got put out and had water thrown on it. Well, that's strangely specific. The Pima County Department of Environmental Quality has been conducting tests to find the source of the smell. They inspected the Tres Rios wastewater treatment facility but found no irregularities within the operation. As a last-ditch solution, the department has created plans to erect a 50-foot fan that will blow the smell towards Marana, where officials say no one will notice.
And I wanted to take a moment to talk about the program you're watching right now. Here at 5 on 20, we are undertaking a new kind of citizen journalism. We are going to give you the news as we see it. And we want more people to speak up with us. We need writers, hosts, anchors, camera people, sound people, the whole gamut. The times require a new way of informing ourselves. So join us. Do it. Do it now. Email us at info@creativetucson.org to get involved. And if you think there's a story we're missing, a person we should interview, an upcoming event we should cover, or have any news tips for us, shoot an email to info@creativetucson.org. We are here for you, and we want to cover all stories from all points of views. So don't be strangers. Now, in national and international news.
A representative from the UN Human Rights Council says that South Sudan is deteriorating into genocide similar to what happened in Rwanda. Yasmin Suka, chairwoman of the Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan, says that murder and gang rape are happening on an epic scale in the country. Suka claims that a third of South Sudan's population has had to leave their homes due to threats of violence. The country is also experiencing extreme inflation of over 800%. A third of the nation's teachers have also fled the country because they were targets of intimidation. South Sudan is the world's newest country, established in 2003. Since its inception, South Sudan has been embroiled in a civil war between two rival ethnic groups, the Dinka and the Nuer. The battles began with the country's president, Salva Kiir, who is Dinka, had a falling out with his vice president, Riek Machar, who is Nuer. Both men urged their respective tribes to fight the opposition. Suka compares to the situation in Rwanda, where two tribal groups, the Hutus and the Tutsis, engaged in bloody battle for years. The Hutus were accused of genocide. Suka is calling for a deployment of 4,000 peacekeepers in the country. That news comes a week after an AP reporter was deported from the country for his reporting. That reporter says that if we wait any longer, then South Sudan could devolve into full-on genocide. Rwanda's 1994 genocide is often cited as an event that could have been stopped if the international community had intervened sooner.
Yesterday, the Department of Energy decided to take the nuclear option and defied a request by Donald Trump to provide names of DOE employees that work on climate change projects. Excuse me. The request was included in a 74-question document by the agency. The questions involve climate change projects over the past 5 years. According to NPR, the Trump administration is seeking the email records from these projects. Trump has stated that he believes that climate change is a hoax cooked up by the Chinese, and he would reverse any environmental regulations made by President Obama. The Energy Department released a statement saying that the questionnaire unsettled many in the workforce. They offered to be forthcoming with information related to the projects, but would not reveal individual names connected with the work. Some of the agency's employees believe that this is the beginning of a witch hunt that will purge the Energy Department of those who wish to study climate change effects. In a sudden reversal, Trump's spokesman, Sean Spicer, said last night that the survey was not authorized and not part of standard protocol. But he did not say if the questionnaire would be rescinded, only stating that the person who said it would be, quote, properly counseled. So someone might be getting waterboarded right now. Trump, in the meantime, appears to be backing off the department until he can find a more effective way to bug those climate change supporters. One bright idea he had involved requiring that the AC be permanently set to 40 degrees in order to fool the scientists into thinking that climate isn't changing.
A year after the scandal was uncovered, Flint, Michigan's drinking water is still unsafe to drink. Mayor Karen Weaver issued a state of emergency last December because of the lead-contaminated water, which prompted over 400 civil suits against the city. Michigan has spent over $400 million to distribute bottled water in the area and to provide 145,000 water filters to residents. However, most residents don't trust the water even if it is run through a filter. Donations were plentiful in the early days of the crisis, but have now slowed to a trickle as the nation's attention has moved on. But last week, Congress finally passed legislation that will provide $170 million in aid. But city officials say replacing all of the city's pipes, they'll need more than $10 million additional dollars. Flint's water crisis began in 2014 when the city decided to reroute their water source to the Flint River. Mistreatment of the water caused corrosion in the pipes, releasing lead into the water system. Lead is known to be extremely toxic and cause brain defects in young children. The fact that Flint is overwhelmingly poor and black made the issue even more anger-inducing. 9 government employees were charged with tampering with evidence and neglecting to provide evidence of the water contamination. 2 have cut deals with the prosecutor of the case, but there may be more prosecutions in the future.
In Isn't It Ironic news, the incoming National Security Advisor was found to have inappropriately shared classified material with foreign military personnel. A statement released by the military says that Michael Flynn, who was appointed by Donald Trump last week, unintentionally violated intelligence regulations. The statement doesn't specify what the leaked information involved, but states that Flynn provided it to military officials in Afghanistan. But the report said that Flynn did not share the intelligence knowingly and would not be charged for the leaks. 2 former government officials told CNN that Flynn also shared intelligence with Pakistan about terror networks in the country. The issue comes a few months after Hillary Clinton was lambasted for allegedly using a private server that contained confidential information. Donald Trump made this a centerpiece of his campaign, and it was one of the primary reasons for Hillary's loss. The FBI, who says that she also didn't knowingly release classified information, later cleared her of all charges. Do you see what I'm getting at here? Asked about the issue, Donald Trump said Fantastic Flynn made a fantastic deal with the fantastic people of Pakistan.
Filipino President Rodrigo Duterte bragged about how he personally killed drug dealers in his country in order to show law enforcement how it's done. Duterte said that when he was mayor of Davao City, he would kill the dealers and then say to police, quote, "If I can do it, so can you." So inspiring. He said that he would ride around Davao on a motorcycle looking for an encounter to kill, presumably with sunglasses and a toothpick in his mouth. Last June, Duterte launched a brutal war against drug dealers and users in the Philippines and sanctioned their murders by regular Filipinos as well as police. So far, more than 5,900 were killed in less than 6 months. Strangely enough, most Filipinos seem to be okay with what looks like a blatant dictator in the making. The country has suffered a huge rise in drug abuse, with most addicted to Shabu, which is the Filipino version of meth. But in October, the Senate began an inquiry into the deaths. They interviewed a hitman who says that he saw Duterte unload 2 magazines from an Uzi on an official for the investigation. He also claims that the death squads ordered by Duterte when he was mayor killed over 1,000. Oddly enough, Duterte recently admitted that he had been using the painkiller fentanyl of late because of a fall that caused severe pain and migraine headaches. He said that he had been using more than the recommended dose before his doctor stepped in. So Duterte said that because of the drug abuse, he would be executing himself sometime next month to make an example of himself.
Yo, who hacked my email account? That's what the world is asking after Yahoo officials said that billions of accounts have been breached. This follows an announcement in September that 500 million accounts were hacked. Yahoo executives expressed shock, mainly because it seems their company finally experienced some growth. The hacks, which occurred in August 2013, are the largest known hack of user data in history. Yahoo hasn't released too many details on the investigation because they were locked out of their accounts after being hacked. They did say that names, email addresses, phone numbers, birthdays, passwords, dick pics, and security answers were taken. They also say that many of the accounts from the 2 hacking episodes could overlap. In 2013, Yahoo reported having only 800 million users, so the 1.5 billion figure assumes that some were hacked multiple times. The news wasn't surprising to most Yahoo users, who have become comfortable with knowing that a teenager in Romania knows more about their life than their own mother. Responding to the hacks, Yahoo said that they would probably do, well, nothing because, quote, you don't use your Yahoo account anymore and you're too lazy to cancel it.
So true. I didn't even know Yahoo was around anymore. And it's a sad time for 80s nostalgia. Actor and theme song writer Alan Thicke died Tuesday night at the age of 69. Thicke suffered a heart attack while playing hockey with his son. The actor is best known for his role in Growing Pains, where he played Dr. Jason Seaver and served as dad to the kids of the 80s. Thicke also composed some of the wormholiest theme songs of the decade, writing the themes to The Facts of Life, Wheel of Fortune, and Different Strokes. Before his Growing Pain days, Thicke became well known in his native Canada for his talk show, The Thick of the Night. His son, Robin, is also a well-known singer, best known for his song Blurred Lines. But with all of Alan Thicke's accomplishments, his biggest triumph remains this Tim and Eric gem. This was Anias Quintella
And Chris Amon for 5 on 20 News. Next up, Anais shares what's going on with local art and culture.
No. What's up, Tucson? I'm your host, Anias Quintella, and welcome to Art Talk. Let's talk all things local art and culture in the Old Pueblo. The Loft Cinema has some top-notch programming going on this holiday season and always. Their off-kilter picks are ideal for those who want some Christmas cheer without all the sappiness. On Friday, they're playing infamous holiday horror flick Silent Night, Deadly Night at 10 p.m. The freaky film centers around a psychotic Santa and his delivery of deadly delights. The movie was first released in 1984 and was protested for its shocking slasher antics and gruesome scenes. It was pulled from theaters after just 1 week, but has gone on to achieve cult shocker status. And now you can see it in all of its glory on the big screen. And on Sunday at 2 p.m., the Loft will be screening 2001: A Space Odyssey in 70mm. If you care at all about this space spectacular, you have to see it in 70mm. The Stanley Kubrick masterpiece will screen again on Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., when it will be joined by a special collection of film art and artifacts, including original posters designed by space artist Robert McCall, the original 2001 publicity packet, and a signed letter by Kubrick himself. On Thursday at 7:30 p.m., the Loft will host a free showing of the infamously awful Star Wars Holiday Special, which aired on TV in 1978. Nathan Rabin of the AV Club said of this film, quote, "I'm still not convinced this wasn't ultimately written and directed by a sentient bag of cocaine." And George Lucas himself said that he wanted to track down every copy and smash it with a sledgehammer. Let's watch the trailer so that you can see why. Wait, go back up. I highly recommend listening to the How Did This Get Made podcast episode about the Star Wars holiday special before you go. It's so good and really serves as prep for this hilariously bad film. Viewers are encouraged to wear their Star Wars costumes to the event, and the Loft will round out their holiday programming with the actual best Christmas movie of all time, Die Hard. They'll have 3 screenings of the Bruce Willis action flick. See it on Christmas Eve, Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day. Check out loftcinema.org for showtimes and to get tickets to any of these film screenings. And if contemporary art is more your bag, MoCA Tucson has a slew of exhibitions to feast your eyes on. Currently, our hometown MoCA is showing Meeting the Clouds Halfway, a collaboration by New York and Tucson-based architecture firm Aranda Losh and Tohono O'odham basket weaver Terrell Dew Johnson. Aranda Losh is exhibited internationally, and their work is part of a permanent collection of MoMA in New York, while Johnson is a community leader, renowned artist, and has been nationally recognized as an advocate for Native communities. This exhibition has been staged in MoCA's Great Hall and features experiments by the collaborators that blend traditional craft with contemporary design. You'll see everything from basketry to architecture, and the display draws direct inspiration from the desert that surrounds Tucson. All works were constructed from only 4 natural materials: rock, copper, wood, and grass, in an exploration on the preservation of traditional Native American practices and their intersection with the modern world. The goal of the project is to increase awareness of Tohono O'odham artistic traditions. Along with the exhibition, a basket weaving workshop, educational programming, and proposals for sustainable housing in tribal communities have been organized in partnership with Tohono O'odham Community Action. Also on view at MoCA is Miranda Lichtenstein's Sound and Noise and JPW3's Sleep Never Rests. Lichtenstein is a photographer, and her exhibition is a collection of 15 years of her work. The gorgeous, approachable pictures focus on making art that confronts diverse states of mind, feelings, emotions, and thoughts. JPW3's exhibition includes bold paintings of infinity buckets, but also a room wrapped entirely in orange and black checkered flag motif to dizzying effect. All 3 MoCA exhibitions are open to the public until January 29th. And if you're stressing about picking up last-minute holiday gifts, the Mercado San Agustin is hosting their 9th annual Holiday Bazaar this weekend. The bazaar handpicks local makers, collectors, and artists to sell their wares each year. This year, there are more than 70 sellers, including Echo Grow, Little Toro Designs, Collected Artifacts, Bicus, Tin Antique, Mast, and Linda Cato. There will also be plenty of food and drink with Augustine Kitchen, Sice, Presta Coffee, and the new AKA Deli on the premises. The market will be open Friday and Saturday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Sunday. And I wanted to share an opportunity for artists. The City of Tucson, Arts Foundation for Tucson and Southern Arizona, and University of Arizona Poetry Center have announced an open call to name the next Tucson Poet Laureate. The outgoing Tucson Poet Laureate is Rebecca Seyfler. She holds a BA from SUNY and MFA from Warren Wilson College. She has published 3 collections of poetry and has won the Cecil Hemley Award from the Poetry Society of America, the Western States Book Award, a Pushcart Prize, and the Grub Street National Poetry Prize. She also works as a translator, rendering works by Cesar Vallejo, Alonso de Aquino, and Ernesto Lumbreras. Talking about her role in Tucson for the last 2 years, Seyfler said, quote, "I would rather revise the role so that a poet laureate is not one who is crowned, but one who crowns." A community panel will pick the next Tucson Poet Laureate early next year, and the chosen individual will begin their 2-year term on March 1st. Poet laureates serve as ambassadors of literary arts, promoting literary education in schools and the community at large by bringing poetry to the people of Tucson who have limited exposure to literary arts. Basically, the chosen poet serves as an inspiration to an emerging generation of fellow artists and readers of literature while giving presentations around the city. The deadline for nomination is February 1st. To be considered for this interesting role, you must be a Tucson resident for at least 2 years, live in the city 6 months of the year, be willing to present around the city, and have a record of high-quality work. To nominate yourself or another writer, head to the artsfoundtucson.org and click on the Opportunities section under Artists and Organizations. In addition to details on the Poet Laureate opportunities, they have a bunch of other solicitations. Artists of all kinds will be interested. And that's all I've got for you this week, Tucson. This was Ania Quintella with Art Talk. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you right here next Thursday. Let's go out on this video by Nowness of dancer Lil Buck with Icons of Modern Art.
He's dancing.
Yeah.
And then
Bye.
when it's done, just do 5120 logo till 5:30.